Hi everyone, I'm Carly of Gnarly Gaming, and today I am finally continuing my highly emotional top 10 series. It's time for video number 5. If you're new to my channel or this series in general, this idea was sort of my response to the question I get a lot, which is my top 10 games. And when most people ask this question, they're really looking just for recommendations. And I don't think that my top 10 list necessarily is recommendations, because they're all really pulled from just purely emotional experiences for me. I like everything from some party games all the way up to heavy Euro games. Of course, not everything in between is my cup of tea, but the things that really captivate me hold a very wide range. So it's really hard to compare all of them. But what I know and what's most salient to me is my emotional attachment to games. There's some games that if I was running out of the house in a fire, that I just care way more about my copies of them, or I just care way more about the role they serve in my life or how they connect me to people in my life. And so those are the ones that are my top 10. And so this isn't a perfect recommendation list, but what this is really sharing my experiences with these games and the games that truly touched me as a person, and that are my top 10 games, whether or not they are the top 10 games of all time, which is a debate for a different video series. If you've seen any of the other videos so far, this video is going to probably feel a little different. A lot of the top games that I've already talked about are really rooted in my heart and soul by being attached to like the history of me as a little gamer, or are connected to people that I've loved and lost in my life, and that in that way just really hold a place in my heart like no other. This game also holds a really special place in my heart, but kind of for a different reason. And because you've seen the thumbnail, you know it's because this is the game that I lean on most when I'm depressed. Depression is something that I've struggled with since I was in middle school, roughly. And the feeling that kind of consumes me when I'm depressed is not one of sadness. I think a lot of people who maybe don't have depression associate it with some kind of all-encompassing sad, but it isn't. It's really a hollow feeling, because sadness I equate to being sad I didn't get the gig I wanted to, or sad that something bad is happening in my world or to somebody I love, and this feeling of tragedy. In the case of depression, it's hollow. It's like my core is ripped out. It's the things that spark joy in me and that I'm full of passion for. All of that is just devoid. And so there are tears often with it, but it's just kind of this helplessness, because you know what it's like to have drive and passion, and when you feel none in you, everything just feels empty. And that can be really hard when you approach something like a hobby you love. And I look around at shelves full of games I love, and all of it is either overwhelming or joyless, or joylessly overwhelming. And I struggle in those times. Games don't solve those problems, though they bring me a lot of joy. In those times, they can actually be really overbearing. The pressure to game, the pressure to socialize for one, but also the pressure to strategize, and in tandem, they can just be too much. But there's one game I've found that actually serves Carley when depressed really, really well. And so this one is definitely on my top 10 emotional games. One, because I love this game. I think it is absolutely delightful when I'm not depressed. And when I'm depressed, it is the game that more or less holds me. I don't know how else to put that. I have this little like purple and blue blanket that my Aunt Barbara made for me, and I will usually just swaddle myself in that and we'll play this game. And that's when I can get myself out of bed. Like just because this game is good for me then doesn't make it even easy to do. But when the entire world is hard, if I can make it to this table, the game is enough to stimulate me without overwhelming me, and it just it's my depression game. And I don't know, like, if you've ever experienced depression, it's having something that can help you feel like a little more like yourself, that can help connect you to like your passion and your people. in that way, where you can sit with other people and not feel like a burden to them because you can play alongside them. And that you can engage with and not feel like you're too overwhelmed by. Like, all of those things balancing is really, really tough when like everything just feels so catastrophic in you or devoid. and so this game is in the top 10. And if I didn't say it already, there is no order fully to the top 10. I refuse to weigh my emotional experiences. But when I knew I was going to do this series, I knew I was going to do this video. I didn't want to do it first because it's a hard one. But this game means so much to me. And I've been teasing it as this game for long enough. So I'm just going to show you guys. It is Taverns of Tiefenthal by North Star Games. This right here is my depression game. So now to share a little bit more about this absolutely delightful game. Like I said, it is a game that I enjoy when I'm in the throes of depression, but it's also one that I find absolutely delightful when I'm happy and healthy and enjoying time with friends. In Taverns of Tiefenthal, you are trying to make your tavern the best tavern of Tiefenthal. You want to be the talk of the town. That was so many T's. But in this stinking cute game, what you're doing is you'll have your own little town in front of you, and you're going to be trying to earn money so you can basically upgrade your tavern, and all of the little bits in it, all of that will get you points. And then you're going to want to acquire beer so you can acquire all of the best patrons in the world, the ones that get you the most points. It's a pretty easy system. You're basically going to be acquiring money and beer and using it to get points and be a cool tavern. And so just how do you get beer and money to do these cool things? Well, everyone at the beginning of the game will basically get a little beer coaster. This one's cute. They have like little writing on it, like someone's playing Hangman. Some of them have like little water stains, but they're little beer coasters, just adorably thematic, and dice. You will roll the dice you have, and that was not how you roll dice, you just roll them. And then you basically will have 4 numbers on them. You are going to take 1 to keep, and then pass it to the next player. Everyone, depending on how many people you play with, 2 to 4, will basically just keep passing around till you have 4 dice back to you. So it won't be necessarily the dice that you rolled, you'll actually get to draft them. And these dice will be used as workers if you've ever played a worker placement game. There's different action spaces on your tavern that can let you acquire either beer or money. Basically, you'll use patrons that you have to get money from them, but all of them want a different die value. And similarly, different action spaces that let you make beer want different die values. And so you'll try to allot these dice as best as possible to patrons or different parts of your establishment to earn even more beer and money to make your establishment better at usually making more beer and money, and your patrons better at giving you money. And then after a set number of rounds, you figure out who has the best dang tavern. And so part of the reason I think this works for depressed Carley's brain so well is the fact that I'm being social, we're interacting, we're passing dice, we're drafting dice amongst us, we're all trying to do this really adorable thing, which is just building up a tavern. It's quite charming, but it's not overwhelming. At any point in time, I'm really limited to up to 4 dice in front of me. And often there's just a best answer. If I need beer and I need a space that needs a 6 to get it, I will probably try to take a 6 first. And then I'll pass and I'll just make the best of whatever comes my way. And saying that out loud is just kind of funny when you're talking about depression and just trying to make the best of what's coming your way. But that's it. And there is strategy to it. You can build up in unique ways, and how you allocate your dice, whether that's to beer or money, can make a difference in your game. You'll, like I said before, be using money to upgrade your establishment in a variety of ways. You can get more servers, which can get you extra dice that are yours in particular. There's colored dice involved. You can get more tables, which just means more patrons can sit down at once, which gives you more options of people to give money from or get money from. You can upgrade your establishment so that the people who bring you beer, instead of bringing 1 for every die, bring you more than 1. And so there are all of these ways to kind of build up, and they're meaningful choices. But at the end of the day, I will always have a tavern. There's no failing that. Even if I don't win in points, I will always be able to make some progress with it, whether that's acquiring patrons or building up my tavern, it's not a game that's going to be brutal to you where you feel like everything's falling apart. And in the same vein, equally approachable in terms of how you do those actions. Once the draft is done, everyone will basically get a chance to fully resolve their boards in turn order. And there's a bunch of modules you can add that do things like give you specialty performers. You can like feed them schnapps and they'll do like fire blowing, or they can allow you to like modify your dice is really what all that means, or get extra beer or money, things to just help you do better. And I think that's why this game is so great, is there's just a lot of ways to build up. And so you always feel like you're building up no matter what you do. So it's my depression game. If you don't have depression, maybe it's also just a great gateway gamer game. So for folks who might not know what I mean by that, is just, it's a great game for new gamers. It's really lovely, it's charming, it has an adorable theme, it's not overwhelming, and it really is a game that builds you up alongside it. There's no way to really feel like you've lost, even if you don't get the most points. And truly, though you can tell other people are doing well, you don't have like a grand sense of failure, even if you lose massively in this game. I usually lose massively in this game, whether depressed or not. You just kind of enjoy it and then see who wins. It's not the most social game. I don't want the most social game when I'm depressed. And it's not the most strategic game. I don't want the most strategic game when I'm depressed. But it's just simply lovely. I adore it. I just got the expansion, actually. I was waiting for my own copy of it in English for a while, and I'm thrilled because it has even more modules. And so this one gives you like a guest book. Like there's so many cool layers to it. They have 5 modules that you can actually build up as you play. They start with the base game, and then you just add like little extra components to your tavern, and that's kind of fun. I believe the new one has like wine, like sommeliers involved and whatnot. I'm thrilled for it. It's my perfect little depression game. That is it from me for this highly emotional top 10 video. This has been Taverns of Tiefenthal, a beyond wonderful game if you ever get to try it, depressed or not. Next week, I will have another video. It will be a lot less emotional and a lot more silly. I hope to see you all for the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great week.